issue with it. Like, if he'd gone into the corner and was like, rah, 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 I have no problems. You can throw your tantrum. It doesn't look great, but you can do it.
Yeah.
But he did it on the board. And that's my criticism. But I don't think we're going to be seeing that because I think, as you guys mentioned, it was just a build-up of emotion. He needed to get it out.
And directed at himself more than the opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. There was no like malicious intent behind it. But a decision's been made. And whilst we were talking, Bishop takes knight. Magnus keeping us guessing in every move. I wasn't expecting that. I thought Bishop would just go back to d6. But Magnus is determined to reroute the knight, from b6 to d6, where it can start eyeballing e4 and c4.
Yeah, I've got to say, this is very anti-positional play from Magnus. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows he's doubled pawns. That's kind of now for no reason, not even for the bishop pair. He knows that's already kind of a little bit of a sin when it comes to positional play. He's given up the bishop pair now willingly, but he must just be trying to get a grip here, just of that kind of light squared combination of e4, c4, and 5. I think you're right. Like 98, d6 is pretty much guaranteed now. It's just about whether he's got enough control, Magnus, to stop any of Kukesh's big plans. I think now Kukesh will be like, okay, I'm going to keep the light squared bishop on the board because this piece controls everything. I'm not going to swap anymore.
I have a question for you, and it's actually referencing another game that's happening, and that's between Humpy Canaru and Zuzhanev. Because in that particular game, which we'll come to, Black has gone for, you can see the pawn structure with b5, a5, and a knight popping up on d6. Is Magnus going, hang on a second, you guys think I'm playing that the long game, but actually what I want to be doing is I want to stop White from castling kingside, and if you castle queenside, that is what's going to await.
So maybe he's been watching the game Humpy against
Yes.
Zuzhanev and trying to pick up some inspiration. Maybe. I mean, we're seeing this Carlsbad-esque pawn structure on a lot of boards, so maybe Magnus, there we see it, he's actually watching the screen right now. I like the theory, Ivanka. Maybe he's just he's
Just
hoping.
speculation. What do you think, Tanya? It would be very, very ambitious and maybe a bit of a pipe.
I think Magnus is known to actually keep an eye on all the boards, and I wouldn't be surprised with the position so incredibly different as well, while the structure is same. Just what we have on the boards, and right now he's just given up that bishop for the knight. The idea of rerouting that knight from b6 to d6 is also incredibly thematic in these structures, right? You're looking at those light squares at the center of the board. It's a really nice spot for the knight where it also defends the b7 pawn. It also gives you the flexibility to move those pawns forward. Now that the knight on b6 has done its job. But before all of that happens, the first decision is on Gukesh. What is he capturing that bishop with? And it's not so clear for me. I would love to capture towards the center, pawn takes bishop, but I also feel that it's fine to have the knight on the back instead to take it to my queen. And I'm feeling that this is not an easy call. Instinctively, I want pawn takes bishop, but logically queen takes bishop. Which one are you guys going for Gukesh here?
I think if I was in a must-win situation, I would take the pawn. Just creating even more imbalance. Take it, push forward with c4.
Penak dong. Kenapa tidak penak?
Just trying to keep the grip long term, maybe taking with the queen, not changing the structure, deter black from casting queen side due to those pawn advances you mentioned, Tanya. Feels like a coin toss. Queen of coins. Bianca, what would you do?
I don't know. What do you think about it? You know, I don't know where it is. I've had it for many, many years now. I've had it like for 20 years. Now it's gone. I don't know what I did with it.
One of our viewers watched yesterday and they were like, oh, I want that lucky guy.
Really? Oh, yeah. Oh my god, I've lost it already. Yeah, it is a bit of a coin toss here. I don't know. I suspect the fact that
Mbak apa?
Gukesh is hesitating that he might also take
Apa kuih?
the pawn. But whilst Gukesh is thinking hard, maybe we can actually just pay some attention to Humpy against Jujuna. Go to that game and see the pawn structure there. Maybe we can get some inspiration.
Some ideas. What can white do? And this is so different. It's the number of pieces and pawns that are on the board. 96, the plan that we're talking about from Magnus Carlsen, already on the board for Jujuna, a beautiful piece. But I have to say for Humpy as well, she's got trumps in the position, right? She's kind of all set up and all ready to get e4 in this game.
Ragmananda
I'm
karo
not sure if she does it
Ragmananda
immediately
karo
or does she
Vincent Tembak.
wait, because there are ideas of black pushing that b pawn, kicking that knight out, c5 in the air as well. Once that
Gila,
happens,
mikir
opening
Gukesh
up
gitu.
diagonals, opening up files. David, should we do a deep dive into
Muchas
this?
gracias.
Because pawn breaks
Yo
super
creo que
important now that the
Sekat.
pieces are all on the center of the board for white.
Let's,
Memang piro?
let's try and figure out exactly what Zushina will play. E4 is coming and she wants to brace for that impact, the impact of that move. Then maybe she already strikes with b4.
Jelas
Maybe
juga
she
merugikan
lands right into
bangsa
c4.
kemungkinan.
Feels like the two most active moves, or she could just kind of take the time out, just chill, and a resistor, just hang out, put a queen on b7. Okay, in terms of deep dive, which one do we think is worth?
Most direct. I think we have to check out b4, right?
Okay.
Kick that knight out, and I think the problem with this is that you just take and you put the knight on a4 and you're playing on the dark squares.
There's a fork in the air. There's a nice outpost, as you say. Not so pleasant for
Ora,
black.
sekarang buat turun nih ya.
And if
Aku
this
turunin
is
ya.
so pleasant for black, then how are you stopping Humpy's e4 on the next move?
Masuk akal, Bra.
Not sure if she is. Okay, let's say knight c4. Let's try and just put the nice piece on the dark square.
Let's go. We gotta
Terlalu
try it out, right?
picau-picau, Mas.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what next. d4 feels a bit looser, but it's okay for now. It's more protected. Let's say black just continues waiting.
Apa?
Just want to keep the tension.
Yes, it's such a
Looks nice, doesn't
Bro.
it?
very complicated. Like it's hard to
Sekarang
come up with a
stop
move
call.
for white and for black.
Doesn't white normally play?
Ngosek belik karang anak.
We do. So Jujuna decides not to push any of her pawns, and she's inviting the move e4. She simply reroutes her queen, keeping it flexible either to land on g5 or b6.
Okay, so her big idea is that after
Iya,
the
iya.
queen will come to g. Well, maybe we'll see some knight f4 first.
Come back.
Come back, and then the queen comes out. Don't spot that knight h3 is in the air. Oh, David's already whoops, provided some spoilers there. But yeah, that was the basic threat.
I quite like this actually. White has to make some committal moves. Either king in the corner, probably the safest, or pushing some pawns in front of her own king here. Yeah, if queen to d8, if it's kind of telegraphing her idea here that she definitely wants to play queen g5, white should be kind of not one waiting move. I don't know.
It's a slow build game, right? Where I can expect a lot of waiting, a lot of maneuvering, but it's tense. And you know, we've come to the stage where the players are deep in thought. They are thinking about the decisions ahead because it is for sure the calm before the storm. And on that note, we are going to go on a short break. When we come back, we are going to dive into the action that is bound to ensue.
Oke, tugas jalan dengan langkah pion makan shop. Langkah bagus. Dan Magnus mengundurkan kudanya ke C8, mungkin persiapan untuk menuju ke D6 untuk mengontrol letak tengah mungkin. Nggak mau diadu mungkin ya. Halo, welcome yang baru join. Tanpa cilek-lek, teman-teman.
Viciously with pawn, takes the piece, or he could have taken it with a queen, and he's gone for the most combative response.
Gukesh is an absolute fighter, regardless of who's sitting opposite him. He knows that this clash has everyone watching, glued to their seats. It's the world number one against the world champion, and he always wants to take the fight. He always looks at it as an opportunity. And seeing that, this might be the opportunity for him to actually get that c-pawn moving up the board. I think, David, you said it, that if it's a must-win game, I take it with a pawn, implying that that is the riskier choice. Magnus has made his intentions clear. That knight is landing on d6. And I think if you're white, you're not going castling on the right side anymore. You're not going castling on the left side anymore with the a3 pawn weakened. So you have to be looking at that break with pawn to c4, hopefully deterring Magnus Carlsen from getting knight d6 in, at least for one move.
Exactly. C4 is the logical continuation
C4.
of you take C3 here. It's the consequence is that you are able to advance.
C4 ya bongkarnya ya.
Majority. I wonder if it gets tactical immediately. It might well do. Gukesh, I was going to say, it's so predictable. Like some players, you can read like a book like Magnus yesterday, playing knight d6. Prag said it, I knew it. Like if Magnus sees an opportunity to get material balance where he thinks it's better, he'll go for it every time. Gukesh, I think of him as like a transformational player. He likes to see the game evolve. From the opening, he'll make some big decisions, then it's suddenly pawn structure changes, then pawn structure changes again, then it changes again. He tries to kind of change the pace, hope his opponents can't keep up. Retake c3. If he accelerates now with c4, I think we have to work out what is Magnus doing. Is he going to take this pawn? Is he going to leave this pawn? Is he going to advance c5? I don't know. Either way, difficult decision and difficult to understand why Gukesh is thinking c4 would be so natural right now.
Can you just simply play knight to d6? And the answer is no. But I had a specific idea in mind that if you were to take pawn takes, you could go bishop to g2 and get it that way.
Oh, boleh. Keren tuh move-nya.
Queen e6 f5, you've fully cemented on the light squares.
Yeah, this looks beautiful with the bishop planted in the center. But perhaps for knight d6, you have this one additional opportunity that you could push the pawn to c5. And I'm not seeing a very happy square for the knight. On e4, you end up losing a pawn. f5, not possible. b5, I don't think that's what your intention is. And if you have to go all the way back to c8, your knight is kind of dead there with no coordination on the back rack. So
Bener juga.
c5, not a happy,
Mati ya kudanya kalau gitu.
No, you've convinced me. I completely cannot look at that.
Fresh banget nih
Not
Magnus.
even alive that night. I agree. Rewind. We cannot allow that. But that actually goes to show the danger in the position. So that more or less indicates to me that after c4,
You have to take
it, right? Because you cannot allow c5. Okay, so now takes, and maybe you can use this idea of bishop g2, but in a different way. So which way is white going to capture on c4?
Most natural, I would say, is the knight. Queen takes, you get hit. Bishop takes, unclear. Unless the white queen's wanting to use this diagonal, but I don't really think there's time for that. So knight takes c4.
And here, my instinct is that you should trade off knights. And the reason I'm saying this is because
That good
I
ya.
feel like the bishop isn't going to necessarily exploit the weak pawns on the king side.
The white bishop.
Yeah, like if the knight on the other hand can do a lot of damage by sitting there on f5, the bishop not so worried about.
Yeah, that's right. I said it before. Like knights are the best when attacking double pawns and taking control of squares. Bishops, rooks don't really care so much about double pawns. So I like it. Also, just quick comparison. Like here, white's knight is better than the black knight, so it makes sense. 96.
And knowing Gukesh, he would want to try to keep all the pieces on the board, as many as he can, right? While knight takes knight, I think it does give you this long-term, healthier pawn formation, but it just doesn't feel enough. I'm wondering if white does have the luxury to try to keep the knights on the board, plant that knight on a5. I will say that's one of my favorite squares for a knight. I'm just not sure if in this position it's such a good idea with the queen being able to swoop over, hit that knight on a5. Where are you finding
Iya sih, pas banget tuh.
even after a move like queen to c7,
Pawn C4
unless I'm
tuh.
walking into tactics here, David.
I don't see any tactics. Queen c7. There's also rook g5 type ideas, using the rook to hit the knight. We do have a move. It is heading in the direction we just pointed out, c4. And I think we'd all be shocked now to see Magnus not take this pawn.
Yes.
Partly because white can gain space, connect 4. We should have known that knight d6 wouldn't work. But also because isolated pawn in the center would be another weakness, additional targets for white.
I think the bigger decision now will be, the next big decision now will be that after pawn takes pawn, if Gukesh was to capture with the knight, which I completely agree, I
Lebih ya
think
sih,
it's the move
berat
that
nih.
most of us would make right now. How does he respond to that knight to d6? But also let's look at pawn takes pawn, if that's the only move that Magnus has. Can you actually take it with the bishop and make a case for, I want to keep as many pieces on the board, and after knight d6, find a good square for me, David Howard.
Bishop f1.
Bishop f1, wow.
Oke,
Nice.
I've been wanting to play this
Angka
game
yang
for a long
tepat.
time.
It's the best one.
And king takes, king g2. Yeah, this is what you want. Like the knight is sniffing around.
And
One
Yogi,
day.
at some point, your queen landing on h7 can be quite nasty if done at the right moment. You know, with h6 tender, a lot of pawns hanging there. I like this idea.
I like bishop f1 as well, so maybe the idea should be to trade bishops rather than knights. Just with the weak structure in mind, like, yeah, knights coming off the board. I was thinking of this type of thing originally, but maybe it's just too linear, maybe it's just not enough here. Rook's getting active, black is going to break out with c5, maybe it's not the end of the world. But keeping knights on the board, I love that idea, Ivanka. Like, bishop f1.
Oke, dimakan oleh Magnus.
But actually, I'm not so sure white's knight has potential. Does take on c4, best move.
Kita
Yeah, I
lihat
think he goes
makan.
bishop takes pawn.
Oh,
Ooh, a third one that we didn't consider so far.
I said it just looked weird, but
makan pakai
I'm trying to
mantu
get
yo.
cash moves. He's the one player I think in world chess, no matter how much I watch him, which is a lot at this point. Like I can't guess because he always bases it on calculation. I'm more general. I'm just like, queen gets hit, stop calculation. He's like,
Kayak
no,
akurat.
that's just the beginning.
Hmm.
And that's why he's such a fantastic player in so many different types of positions. He's probably gonna, I don't know, slide the queen to b4 and say it's similar to what we just looked at, but more pressure. Although the eval bar isn't approving, saying that white loses a bit of time.
Does feel a bit awkward. Also, the queen isn't completely stable there, right? Your ideas of either the rook lift or even a5 coming in, chasing the queen further down. Queen a5, queen b6.
Black be better here. I don't understand the eval bar.
Actually, maybe a5 isn't a great move because I really don't like the fact that you get to plant your queen on b6.
If you give me one more move for b1, then black's tied down.
Not loving it.
Queen takes c4.
It's very strange.
He's also asking for what you said earlier, Ivanka, bishop to come towards the center with gain of time.
It's a bit
Oh yeah,
mysterious.
I
move,
control
this one.
tengah.
I'm not also understanding it. Knight to d6 is a very natural one. Also attacking the rook and then backing it up. But the queen doesn't really want to be out there on a4. I feel the action is happening in the center. Like for me, the critical squares are f5 and the white king safety. Once white solves a place where to put the king, the questions will be all for black to answer.
Yeah, I do wonder wonder if Magnus can generate some kind of attack before White's king is able to castle. Like, yeah, I mean, bishop f1 now we've said it, like, it looks so kind of harmonious, just getting the king over to the king side, where it wants to be, where it's got the most pawns, so it can't go queen side really ever, I would say. Although, yeah, possibly with the queen on c3, you can make a case for it. Odd, Ukesh, to play queen takes c4 instantly, when there were 3 very tempting choices. You must have something very specific in mind. See it?
No. Players surprising us on every turn. Let's take a pause on this game, and I want to draw your attention to, in my opinion, another series of events, and that is between Vincent Kaiser and Frank, because we were looking after f5, we were looking at Vincent stepping forward, that was quite nice, but he went for a completely different decision, and they haven't followed our analysis at all. Together we make up the dream team when it comes to the chess and the engine, of course. And the
they should have been watching the commentary instead of playing their games.
Maybe they'll live to regret it, not following the stuff that we've been looking at. But really interesting turn of events here, because let's just backtrack to where we left it one more time, David. There, e5 was a very tempting option here as well, coming in with its own ideas. But Vincent, he didn't keep the tension, and I like that, because as we discussed, Black would solve problems by planting the knight on e6. He went for a direct line, and now with the knight hanging, we were looking at the knight jump to the center of the board and felt that Black was doing fine after the trade, because you eventually end up winning that pawn on f5 with the bishop coming out. The rook already nicely placed on b file. Things are looking good for Black here. Queen f7, queen g6 lining up next. But instead of that, to me, a little bit of a strange move here, because you use your bishop to defend the knight, as Prague did, bishop d7. Now you're never picking up that f5 pawn with your bishop, and Vincent uses this opportunity to push his own pawn on d4 and asking some questions. And the thing is, if you trade everything on d4 here, David, you're left with a stark weakness on d6. Queen takes pawn. Yes, take my pawn on f5. Bishop d3 coming next. Rook d1. Much easier to get to the d6 pawn than it is to get to the c4 pawn.
Ya, nek semua tak WA.
We talked about bishop pair a bit today, but never so far in such an open position as this. So this would be big pressure on Prague, that's for sure.
Itu net murah bu pangan.
Just missed d4 first of all, but
Deleh cung awut kan.
I'm struggling to get my head around it because
Deleh tunat pangan pos deh.
where it will be hit by b4, hit by e3. I don't really see what his next
Man,
move
kopi kan Deni apa?
d4
Squat peng.
and putting it under immediate pressure.
Masa?
So we'll see. It feels like Vincent Kaiser
Pisau.
chances still nothing
Pisau.
too drastic. Like the pawn advantage will disappear, but
Ano tiko serak ora kowe?
it feels like some
Ah,
chances are
ngumpat ning burinan kono aja.
Yeah, I agree with our feature chat that
Tak
this
incang
one does
layu
trade. While a lot
terusan.
of trades are
Layu
happening and
mengisar.
simplifications happening, there's still a lot of imbalance in the position that promises a rich fight ahead.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Vincent will be in the driver's seat in this one. I think Prague needs to be careful, and just let's remind everyone that Prague's the player who's chasing Alireza by 3 points. He's currently second in the tournament, but a whole 3 points behind Alireza.
Exactly. And the scoring system is such that if you win in the classical, you pick up 3 points. So anything can happen. Like, you can see a massive shake-up in the standings, although Alireza will still be tied for first because he's leading by 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, he's just won his first 2 classical games. He's on fire here. In fact, he's won all 3 games so far. One of them in the Armageddon, 2 in the classical. Alireza Firouzja picking up points, and how here we do see a trade in the center. But I actually really love that about Norway chess, that the scoring system, Ivanka, that you were referring to, with 3 points for a win, it just rewards ambition, right? It's so much incentive for the players to play on, to try harder. And we've seen this in Norway chess, David, where at the end, huge turnarounds happen because of one player scoring that one critical classical win at a later stage. This is not a tournament that you can cruise your way to victory. You need to bring on the fights.
Exactly. These are the current standings. Although it does look like Alireza has a huge lead. It does look like Bivisara are very comfortable. Things could
Di
be
Magnus.
sitting here after the rest day talking
Misor
about
dewe cak Magnus.
in 3 rounds time we might talk about Magnus being up there in the joint lead. Who knows? We could talk about Humpy back in form. But yeah, last
Teori ngepur kah ini?
I just love the fact that I think going into the last round of Norway chess last year, there were 4 players who could have won it. halfway through the round, we thought it could be a total switch up. Of course, it ended up being Magnus, but it could have been Gukesh, could have been Hikaru,
Oke.
Fabiano.
Kalian kuda.
Margins.
Oke, 6.
I love this format.
And then you also know
Langkah
that
terbaik.
whenever there is a draw, you will still have a decisive winner at the end of the day because the chess isn't over. There is an Armageddon. There is that extra 1.5 points to fight for.
Yeah.
So and it was actually Norway Chess that invented this format back in 2019. The whole idea of having an Armageddon to decide the day.
Yeah. I was going to say the scoring system, that was football.
That is true, Yovanka.
I don't know much football, but I know that. But yeah, the Armageddon.
3 points for a win.
Yeah, 3 points for a win, but the Armageddon, yeah. Because it was back in 2019, because it wasn't the case before, and then suddenly it appeared.
And the fans love it.
Absolutely. Well, I love it, and all of us love it as well, because we don't have any dull, boring draws, that leave us disappointed. We have, a draw, and then the fight begins. The gloves are off.
Absolutely. And the thing is that a player could have a couple of wins, and then in most top level tournament you'd feel like they're happy keeping it solid and sort of cruising their way through. But you just can't do that at Norway Chess, because one single win from another player gives them 3 points. Like, leapfrogging just happens all the time here.
Yeah, I literally can't remember a single boring day from the last,
Oke.
5-6 years?
Geser menteri ke
6 years that I've
4.
been commentating Norway Chess, and
Langkah terbaik.
yeah, I love the format. I sometimes, as a chess fan, watch these all play alls, and as you just said there, like, you see players playing it safe, you see non-games, but very rare to see that here.
6 years.
I think so. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
Did we do 21?
I think I did.
Our
I can't
first year here
remember.
You did
was
too.
24.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, where did the time go? My goodness me.
We did half each with Judah Polka.
Yes, I remember, but I didn't realize it was like 6 years ago.
Time flies.
Wow.
5 years, 6 editions. 6th edition now.
I think I might have done one extra one as well.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I is old.
We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of chess.
We have
What we're talking
indeed.
about.
And going back to our bird's eye view, so we saw that there are some things happening in the Vincent Keimer Prague game, but our predictions are kind of spot on in the Humpy Canary Jujinair game. But also, I want to draw attention to Wesley So against Alireza Firouzja, because the queens, well, when we last looked at it, the rooks were on the board, but the queens, they're now off, and now we're in a pure double knight endgame. White feels like they're the one slowly pressing, but ultimately, is this simply going to fizzle down to a draw?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so confident now. Looking at positions like this, I'm not so confident about my prediction that there would be 3 decisive games this round. It does feel like Black's king can chill. Maybe guard its kingside pawns. I don't think Black wants to touch these pawns. Like, playing on the side where he's weaker, where he's down 3 versus 2, would maybe backfire on Alireza. But I think he's going to find a good antidote, just putting his king back here, and then it's like, what can White really do? If White can't break through on the king side, then the other flank, the left flank here, Black's the one with more pawns than the majority.
And can Black ever think about getting ambitious, getting in a c5 pawn break?
Definitely possible. But
Not now, because of
Halo, welcome yang baru join.
idea in one swoop.
I think a lot of things need to go in Black's favour to ever achieve c5. Even if Black achieves c5, it's not sure what he's doing next. Maybe c4.
Sini, Boh.
d5 is always going to be such a big weakness. White has so much
Sini.
space.
Kontrol tengah lagi.
Alireza should be happy to just sit on the back rank here.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you as well, but I'm just thinking, is there any chance with an a5, knight b6 type of maneuver happening? I know there's a pawn on b6, I'm aware of that.
Castle
I'm just
mungkin
thinking in the
langkah
future there
terbaiknya.
could be some kind of advance. No, not happening.
Possibly.
But unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel risky for
A5,
Black with
angka terbaik.
where b5 will always be met by the
Ah.
back.
Jalankan
I
A5
think it's very important for Alireza in this position
oleh
to watch the
Magnus.
move g6, which would create a big weakness on g7, and not so easy to deal with just that weakness. You have this e6 square as well with the white knight jumping in, so I actually think that knight f4 comes in with a direct idea of playing g6 next.
Putri geser ke
Let's say Alireza plays the most
C3 kali ya.
If black takes it, it's always tough to know, right? Do you react?
C2.
Do you ignore? Do you block? Don't want to block, just to show your idea, Tanya, because knight e6 already looks deadly.
I mean, if you have to go knight d8 and stay there with knight h5 coming in, I actually don't see a second defender.
Yeah, no defender, and black's tactics don't work. Knight takes f5 check looks like a trick, but white still got a more important d7 pawn. Yeah.
Did you just combine juicer and g7?
Juicer on g7.
A ju7 pawn?
Exactly. I've been watching too many Hikaru streams. Yeah, maybe black should just take. Just get it off the board.
Yeah, and now this is a tricky decision, right? Because again, I want to take it with
Okay.
my pawn. I want to undouble my
Udah
pawn
kita
right now
tiga.
without the knight jumping to h5 feels like a
Angkat
decision I
baik.
want to make.
Now just black put a knight on f6, try to protect squares. Black go back, try to eye up the very far advanced pawn here. Sorry, king f6 is the wrong move I'd want to play. Knight check. Something like this. Feels like all the squares are covered.
And if I was to jump onto h5 now, it doesn't get me anywhere because you trade and
Benteng kah? Benteng ke 8
I
ke?
was going to say, even if knight takes g7 happens, it's not the end of the world.
G5
It's
buat
king
kontrol
six.
tengah.
yes, let's show that.
Nice. And black is out of danger.
Alright, so maybe g6 isn't the most dangerous idea. You still have things under control, but it definitely feels a bit shaky for black once that comes in with g7 stuck.
Yeah, there is a dash of poison in that line as well.
So if you're Alireza and you're actually worried about it, you definitely don't want to push your own pawn forward. That's not, I mean, playing g6, you lose it. Playing f6, you anyways go g6. Knight e6 is also scary. Actually, there's no good way to stop g6.
Alvarez has been burning more time than he has been doing this tournament so far. 28 minutes. I guess it's relative maybe to the opponent, but they have made 28 moves, so it's not the biggest drama in the world yet. But 28 minutes. If he feels uncomfortable, then maybe the time will come back to haunt him later. But it looks like he's playing king e7. Should be fine.
Yeah, he's getting his king closer to those pawns. Leslie can just keep everything under control and keep the position as is, steers it towards an Armageddon, or at least hint at ambition with the move g6.
The thing is, though, if he doesn't do g6, what else is he doing?
It's probably not a question of like if. It's probably a question of when.
Yeah,
G6 will come.
but I can't even find a waiting move.
That does weaken pawns a bit.
Partai apa?
And if you go a4, then suddenly
Partai
the
TNI.
black idea of going a5 and
TNI.
becomes
Apa kuwi?
a bit more attractive because there might
Partai.
be some outside possible.
Oh no.
And the thing
Ngeri nih.
is, Alireza, with the
Enggak.
tournament lead that you have, a 3-pointer, also complete
PMI.
Prague's board. In fact, if anything, it's Winston who's pushing there. Taking it to
Masyumi
the
po,
right
Masyumi.
before the rest day will actually keep Alireza in the lead with a big
Palang merah Indonesia.
big margin going into round 5.
Totally.
It's a great way to end the first half.
Yes, but it's not in his control. It's up to Wesley. Whether Wesley's the one, whether he wants to go g6, clarify the situation. Is he
Jokowi.
gonna play for more? Maybe he can retreat a knight to d3, wait a little bit before.
I say he goes g6.
Grandmaster coy.
I feel that Wesley.
GM
Although
coy.
I wouldn't say that g6 is a very. I feel like if Dukesh was playing, I'd say g6 immediately on the board. But Wesley, he likes to keep things under control unless he's convinced.
Armageddon soon, I think give it 20 minutes. This is Armageddon.
Yeah, I agree, and I think g6 is the easiest way to get there. What do you think?
I think I'll just wait. I think I'll just play knight d3, knight e2, king d3, pass.
Very good.
See,
It's a very nice
No.
way to
So-
guess.
as you were saying though, Farouk has done everything right. Like, if you keep winning your classical games with white, keep going to Armageddon with black, you can win the tournament. It's just different recipe.
5 tahun.
And he would have won the tournament in style if he managed it, because how many
Kita belas apa?
can boast doing this? Take a look.
Asik. Nyantai. Jalan edit. Edit itu. Bobo cantik dia.
This was so good that we had to play it not once but twice. So if you're new watching, enjoy. I mean, he just looks like the epitome of chill.
Absolutely. I mean, there was Ding chilling, now there's Alireza chilling. And also add to that, we were talking about because of our whole Avengers Assemble theme going on, which advantage Alireza would be. You know, I see his leg brace, it almost reminds me of Tony Stark contraptions.
Exactly. The Bionic Man. I mean, the way he's played this tournament, firstly, so impressive, but just the switch up from last week in Romania, when the accident first happened, the injury first happened, we saw him playing from bed. The chess was very below par, I would say. He was really struggling, and to see him suddenly just top form, really nice to see that trajectory for him.
Well, the thing is,
I wish
I can speak from personal experience when it comes to ankle injuries. It gets better. The first few days you feel rough, and I think that's really why Alireza's play was so shaky in Romania. And then you start to feel better and better, and then you no longer have to have your leg elevated, and you become a little bit more mobile. And you appreciate those small moments in life, and that sense of happiness gives you motivation. And I've realized that when you're feeling calm,
Flying from
relaxed, stressed, you play well.
And he mentioned that he echoed those exact same sentiments in an interview, right? Where he said that he is in pain, and it's a lot of pain. I was talking to his second, Ivan Shaparano, who's here, and he said the same thing, that he can feel it. He can feel it in his ankle while he's playing, but actually the chest keeps him focused. I also want to remind everyone that Alireza is a player who traditionally really likes to walk around. If we've seen him in tournaments, he would make a move, step up, walk around, see the other boards. But this is kind of forcing him to stay locked in. It's forcing him to stay focused on the game.
Are you saying that you should always sit at the board?
I'm saying you should always play with an injured ankle is what I'm saying, Ivanka.
I can't sit at the board. I have to keep wandering. It's difficult, isn't it?
But he's in the situation where he's completely forced to stay focused, locked in what's in front of him, not get distracted by anything. The only thing that's distracting him from his pain right now is the chess that he's playing, and somewhere that's kind of helping him.
Yeah, I've once been in a situation where I had an ear infection or something, and the world was spinning. And then I got to sat down in front of the board. You kind of forget, like it spins a little bit, but no big deal. It's the moves that are causing you to think.
And then you cause some counter pain and injuries to your opponents, you know?
Exactly.
Let the revenge drop.
And it's always about momentum chess, but it's also like if you're ill and getting better, then you start to play better and better every day because you feel it. Like, but if you're kind of healthy at the beginning of the tournament, you start to get ill. That's when tournaments go really wrong. So I think he's just on the right. He's on the mend clearly and doing things the right way. We will see him most likely play Armageddon again, left-handed, again with the cast, with the boot on, and we'll see whether he can do it the second day in a row. But I think for now this does look very drawish, and Wesley, maybe this might be his last big thing of the game.
It might be his last big thing. And do remember, tomorrow it is a free day, so both of these players, they do want to set the right tone for that. Let's go back to our bird's eye view and just ponder over what is happening in front of our screen. And maybe I'm gonna take it to Bibisara Salbeva against Ju Wenjun, because I do feel like we could be seeing a competition into who goes into Armageddon first. There's no pawns in the center. Here it's all to do with piece placement, and if black manages to develop that light square bishop and get the knight out of trouble on d6, you can see that this is probably going to be elimination station. Everything is going to get liquidated.
But I do feel that white has a bit of a push here simply because of the piece activity. Yes, it's The pawn's super symmetrical, but look at the way everything's lined up. The open lines you control, disconnection between a Juve engine's rook here, also ideas of the bishop and the queen battery being set up on the diagonal, 8-7 feeling pretty soft there. The knight on d6 invited to be put under pressure by the bishop move retreating back, setting up that battery. I think there's some very concrete ideas in the position that make it not as equal as it should be.
Definitely feels that way, and I think Bibisara now she's been thinking 15 minutes on this one move. She feels that this is the moment. If she goes wrong, if she's too slow, if she reacts, for example, to this hit on the pawn, plays quiet moves like a3, then we'll see the bar, I guess, drop quite a lot. There we go. And that is because Jovanka, as you mentioned, the bishop comes out, life is good, rooks connect. Black is literally just one healthy move away from equalization. So it's here that Bibisara needs to strike, and how to do so. I quite like the idea of dropping the bishop back, firstly defending this pawn, but also asking a question of the knight, also because I wanted to show a trap. If the bishop does move, the knight probably has to move as well. You can't defend it with a rook, for example, because if queen takes rook, boom. And, black taking the rook here doesn't change anything. It'll be replaced by another rook. The rook takes d6 and background checkmate. Just had to show it. Cheap trick, but maybe a relevant one.
Yeah, maybe a relevant one. Yes, I was looking at. That's really, really dangerous. So I was looking at also the fact that queen takes a2 isn't actually a threat because of bishop to b1.
Bishop to b1 just makes a lot of sense. You want to also set up that battery, the checkmating ideas. And I'm just wondering if the knight has to get out of the way. If the knight's going to move to b5, even further away from the king, then the idea of the queen stepping forward comes in with that much more force. Whoa. Wow. That's a bigger blunder than I was thinking. g6 and you just start aiming for knight h4, knight g6 ideas? Is that the point? Or maybe even rook e5 is ready.
Yeah, rook e5.
Pin and
when?
Probably. Don't see the immediate knockout after a6, but there must be one.
I mean, knight h4, knight g6 still looks really nice.
More than good enough. More than good enough. Yeah, queen e3 as well. Just start lining up. Yeah, this is almost over. The black knight probably therefore has to go this way, or maybe it can be defended by the queen.
David, is knight f5, g4 a trapped knight?
Also, there's rook e5 ideas as well, and that's brilliant.
Both moves win.
Okay.
Game over.
The knight has no squares.
Yeah, and therefore, okay. Process of elimination, obviously. I didn't see it at first, but it had to be the queen. Has to be the queen to defend the knight then. At least now the difference, I guess, is that f5 for the block. The knight is so important to keep it on d6.
And just to give you an update, it is a draw between Ali Reza Fujda and Wesley So. So we are going to be seeing Armageddon there, and it finished almost like we predicted. The g6, the players repeating, they're analysing. They're not going to analyse for too long because they have to go into preparation mode and fight the Armageddon.
Fascinating that Wesley didn't even play on for any bit longer. He doesn't see any inroads in the position. Everything's blocked, and even though Alireza's knights are right at the back, things are under control, and this one goes down to the wire. We get our first of 5 Armageddons.
Yeah, very high quality game, but yeah, everything comes down to the next one to see whether Alireza can continue extending that lead potentially. He's guaranteed to be the rest day leader now.
And for the Armageddon, who do we think is the favourite? Wesley has won 2 of his latest Armageddons. Ali Reza played a bit of a scrappy one yesterday, but he did win against Gukesh.
Alireza was in big trouble in that Armageddon against Gukesh, but extremely resourceful, resilient at the end. And when he got that chance, when Gukesh sort of lost the thread in the position, Alireza was all over it. I do think that Wesley has been incredibly impressive in the Armageddon. I'm expecting this one to not be a miniature. All the action that was missing from that classical, I say we'll get a big fight in the Armageddon. If I have to pick a favorite, I'm going to go with Alireza simply because he feels inevitable in this tournament so far.
I'll go Wesley So, just because he's one of the 1990s crew. Everyone else experienced over anything.
You gotta break the tie with predictions.
It's a tough one. I'm undecided here, so
That is not.
it's
an
going to be a
option.
draw. I reckon it will be a draw, and I think Ali Reza therefore wins it.
Yes, because Alireza will start with the black pieces,
Yes,
and
exactly.
Wesley will be in a must-win situation. That means that Wesley will have to take a lot of risks. You take a lot of risks against a player like Alireza, you're pretty much going into Firuja territory.
Exactly, and Ali Reza is so good with no time on the clock.
Yes.
We've seen that time and time again.
Who do you think is actually the fastest player? Who can get maximum number of moves when it comes to elite chess players in 3 seconds?
Oh wow. Fastest hands in the West.
Yes,
Must be Alireza, no?
Alireza.
Did you know?
I'd say he got.
Well, Andy Wood would probably. But,
Yes.
Players in this tournament, I'd say Alireza.
Did you know that in the 80s, and when there was no increment, actually not the 80s, but before there was an increment, that the top players were actually practicing how many moves they could make with a second on the clock.
Yeah.
And
That could be decisive.
yeah, I think Peter Lecco, he was the one who told me that they were practicing, and he said that he managed, I think, 9.
In a second. Oh, impressive.
That's very impressive. That never even occurred to me. I just thought everyone was playing Blitz.
That's how Ivanchuk got the speed. He's the king of playing on 1 second. Vasily Ivanchuk.
Oh, well, we'll see who has the fastest hands here in Oslo chess later on. But, well, we did leave the game between Bibisara and Ju Wenjun, and a really interesting point. It looked like Ju Wenjun was in big danger. We didn't quite find a way out for her either.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out a really good moment because I've got to say I've been impressed by Bibisara already this tournament a lot, but this last move, Bishop C2, the blue arrow actually did appear, and I saw it a bit too late just before we moved over, but the only way to keep the advantage, and that is so difficult. That's such a clever move as well for multiple reasons. Knight to d6, we actually had seen that earlier, but was given a question mark because it is a vulnerable square. But bishop to c2, not only hitting the knight as we showed with bishop b1, but the idea is often to put the bishop on this square, bishop on b3, staring down at the black king, and it takes away the best square from black's bishop. So the same idea, the knight is hit. Again, just for everyone just joining, rook d6, rook d8 would lose to queen takes d6 with a back rank mate, so the queen had to defend its knight.
Oke,
And
terus
now
jalan.
there are many strong moves according to the computer. I think it would be natural for her to put the
Pecah
bishop
ke
on
F2.
b3, since that was her last
Angkat
move,
terbaik.
bishop c2. But I'm going to ask you, Tanya Ivanka, to guess what the computer's top move is. She does play bishop b3, I think. There we go, question mark. So still a nice position for white, but yeah, there was something even stronger. I'm going to make you guess. Sorry to put you on the spot.
I want to go queen d3, but I want to stop g6, knight f5. Can I go knight h4 and set up the idea of queen d3 and get to you?
Also good. Knight h4, second best move apparently. I like it though. Going for the old checkmate.
Yes.
Yes.
Sneak attack.
That looks very nice.
Apparently black's only way to defend would be knight e8 to go knight f6.
Okay, then I'm taking knight h4 for sure.
Yeah, okay, that's more than good enough. Okay, Tanya's vetoed knight h4. Ivanka, you have a clear shot.
I was thinking g4, but again, just to stop the same idea of bishop f5.
Best move.
Whoa.
But only because you said knight h4 and David was so approving, so I just put on my Sherlock hat and I was like, aha, you have to stop bishop f5.
Oh, that's difficult. I think it might have been on our radar, you know, Bibisara, but I think to get yourself to force yourself to play such a committal looking move, it's difficult in a practical game.
Yeah, and also because I like knight h4, so that after g6 I'd have an immediate hit on that pawn, right?
Yeah. So for example, yeah, queen d3, threatening the old queen h7 mate, and then you can just immediately crash through.
But g4 is stronger in this position, so I'm just wondering why. Can you explain why, David?
Yeah, I think it's because simply it's a long-term thing, but the pawn takes away the square from the bishop. If there is no checkmate, then the white knight might actually want to come to e5 instead. So for example, knight to e8, just to follow the computer's top move. Now meeting queen d3 with knight to f6. G5 apparently is the way forward. And after a capture, knight takes g5. Black's bishop just can't develop. You're coming in with the rook, you're coming in with the bishop to b3, and it's going to be capitulation on the f7 square. This is difficult. This is very difficult, but instructive to show that computers nowadays, they prove sometimes chess is just a one-tempo game. One tempo, black was equal. One tempo here, black is just
Amazing.
deadlocked.
knight h7.
Yeah.
If you're allowed, that's just lost instantly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
This would have been almost game over, but I don't think we can blame her for not playing g4. Difficult one. She's played bishop b3 and
So human.
still better for white.
And still impressive to play bishop c2 with the idea of bishop b3. I think the find, even with this human approach, and suddenly it makes, because bishop b1 feels like the most natural looking move in the position. So Bibisara showing some top class chess here.
Ju and Jun. She is struggling in this position, so we're going to take a pause from this one. We'll come back to it, and of course we're going to keep an eye on it. But going back to our bird's eye view, there's a lot of positions where white is better, but I'm seeing that the evaluation bar is slowly inching towards black in the game between Gukesh and Magnus. And Magnus is played in a very unconventional way. So why is the evaluation bar saying it's all good?
It's typical Magnus. Somehow he just understands where pieces belong, and I've got to say, like, really, well, mysterious stuff from Gukesh. He's lost so many tempi with his last few moves, and maybe that's why the eval bar is starting to think that black is at least okay. Maybe we can do an update in a moment, just for everyone at home, a bit of an actual replay, because if we take it back to this position, d takes c4, we were saying, okay, you can take this piece, you can take this pawn with the knight, with the bishop, with the queen. He could, for example, take him with the bishop, knight to d6, and put his bishop back on e2. We quite liked bishop f1, trading bishops. But the reason I mentioned that is because after queen takes, he moves the queen once, it gets hit. He moves the queen again, Gukesh, it gets hit. He drops back to a square he could have gone into in one go. He's arguing that a5 is maybe a weakness, but maybe it's actually a gain for Magnus if he pushes later. Rook g5 came, now bishop e2 is the last move. I'm not going to pretend I understand that. Yes, he can't castle. He can't go kingside because of the black bishop on h3. He can't really castle queenside too open, but it feels like he's just making random moves almost.
The only explanation I have for this bishop retreat is that he's eyeing the f3 square, and he feels that he wants to set up some ideas against that c6 weakness, maybe even rook b1, target the base of that, and start playing on that flank of the board. But the thing is, all threats of bishop f3, bishop takes pawn, you can just take care of it by sliding your king one step to f8, either now or once the bishop lands on f3, the king suddenly feeling absolutely safe there. And again, what real progress has Gukesh made over the last few moves remains a mystery.
Yeah, somehow his pieces are not in the best squares, because as soon as you said king f8, king g7, of course that makes perfect sense as to what black should do, in which case the queen shouldn't have been on c3, it should have been on c2. Ready to go queen h7. And I love the idea of going bishop f3 to kind of set ideas of king e2, connect the rooks. I'm a big fan of connecting the rooks. And then initiate some kind of set of a trade so that the rooks can mobilize, but it's very clunky. I mean, let's try with this.
And also, just to add to that thought, can black actually just simply stop it? Go bishop g2, plant that bishop on d5. I'm not allowing you to connect your rooks ever with the plan that you just mentioned, Jovanka. And I really like that square for my bishop as well. And at some point, I can start thinking about the h-pawn moving up the board.
Magnus has options, like the king can slide. Let's go into it as you suggested, Jovanka. Let's say, okay, bishop g2 I really like actually. Just this idea, and basically saying, okay, you're never ever castling kingside now that your rook has moved. But let's say black just passes. Useful move, king f8. White spent 4 moves essentially playing queen c3 and bishop e2, which you could have done in 2 moves. So, okay, black just improves. What's white's next move? Bishop f3?
Bishop f3.
Okay, let's say black. Let's say rook d8. Let's say black just continues. Queen g7. Gets the king to safety.
Let's try to finish our development. Let's put the king on e2
Oh,
now
no,
that we know
yeah.
that we're not castling anytime soon. Look at the advantage that the computer is giving to Magnus in this position.
It's because the king isn't safe on e2, and that's a fundamental problem, as David's pointing out. The queen moves and the rook will just line up on the d-pawn.
Find a way to attack.
I just don't like what Gukesh is doing. It feels like he's being indecisive. Every time I see Gukesh have a difficult game, it's always because he's trying to be too, I don't know, clever maybe with his pieces. And always it's like the knight goes from d1 to b1, no, from d2 to b1 to c3, back to e2, back to c3, back to d1. Or here it's like the bishop goes to c4, d3, e2, queen goes to c4, b4, c3, b2. It's like I don't.
To what end?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't feel like it's part of a bigger picture. It feels like it's just a one-off move, and that really works.
Especially when you're playing against a player like Magnus. And I just want to point out one more thing about Gukesh that I have noticed over the last year and a half. In the many tournaments that he's played, which has been so uncharacteristic of the Gukesh that we know pre-World Championship 2024 Gukesh, and even the match itself. Every time he's got a good position, you know, he's been on the push, he's had an advantage, somehow he's let it slip away very quickly. Every time he's had an equal position, very uncharacteristically have seen one move blunders, things slipping out into a loss. And it's been a storyline that sort of continued
Oh alah, nó vui đã rồi.
and I feel like this game has reflections of that. Where he started in the opening, you know, Magnus went into this imbalance, these dynamics into the position, and Gukesh had a very healthy situation. And now suddenly here we are, and we're looking at all the plans for Magnus that seem to work. Reroute the bishop, plant it at the center of the board, get the king manually castle it, and finish development. Start attacking at the center one more time with your knight jumping, hitting the queen. And it becomes difficult to find where is Gukesh playing, and it's all happened over the last few moves, and completely unforced.
Yeah. You know, actually, I'm going to put the blame a little bit on the fact that he has faced so much criticism since he became world champion. And when you get feedback so relentlessly like that, it just chips away at your confidence, so that when you do get those
Okay,
winning
Magnus
positions, you
challenge.
think, oh, I'm winning, and suddenly those wins carry so much more weight than they normally would, and you just lose your nerve, and you start making strange decisions, trying to minimize the
Benteng
risk
kecil
rather than
apaan?
relaxing and being able to go gung-ho and just enjoy playing chess.
I mean, that's part of the sport though. Like, there's no point playing at the top level if you're not willing to get feedback. And
Dia memacuin ini loh.
Like, I remember even when Kasparov was dominant, there were a few kind of 6 month patches where he wasn't at his best, and everyone's like, he's finished, he's washed. And I mean, people were critical of Ding. Like now everyone's loving Ding, and I think he's enjoying life a bit more without the title because the pressure's gone. But I mean, he had it. It's just a cycle. So it's like whether Gukesh learns to live with it and learn to play with it, and he'll need to. And he's got a few months before the next big test against Sidorov.
Ini yo.
There's definitely no question that as a world champion, regardless of who it is,
Ini nggak
every
bisa
single
ya.
result and every single game of yours is scrutinized to another
Hah?
degree, right? It sort of comes with the territory. It's not just becoming a world champion, but going on to prove that you belong there and that you're able to defend the title. And I think few players, I mean, looking at in the past, have suffered with that, reaching the top and then holding on to it. Magnus, of course, did it for 5 titles. We had Vichy before that. Gary did it for several years. And it's hard. In fact, there was this whole argument, right? What is more difficult?
Best move-nya
Is
apa
it
ya?
winning
Ini.
the world championship or is it defending the world championship? And I think for Gukesh, this question will matter a lot because not only has he been scrutinized, I think while every world champion goes through that, it's at 19 that's happened to him. 18 when he became the world champion. And that's an incredibly young age to deal with that kind of pressure. Sure, it comes with the territory and you have to learn to deal with it. You have to learn to still be able to put out your best. But it's so easy to forget that he's doing all of that at just 19.
It's the end of an era. We should remember. Today's the last day he's a teenager. Tomorrow he's 20.
So old.
And on that
Benteng kelima.
momentous occasion, and with Armageddon just around the corner, we are going to go on a short break. When we return, it's going to be the thrills and spills of speed chess at its finest. See you then.
Jahat sih.
Checkmate is waiting. Oops, I'm blunt. You find checkmate. In this game, check. Oops, I'm blunt. You find check. Oops, I'm blunt. You find check. This is the book. Game. Find check. Have a chat with me. Can you find the checkmate? So let's be action. You have a chance to beat me. Find the checkmate. Unfortunately, you corrupted.
Loh kan podo wae, Cak. Oh iya ra. Bener ya. Lah uga.
Find a way to
Walah gak ero.
finish this puzzle off and check. I don't need to have this. You see the checkmate idea? Oops, I blundered. You find a way to check it. You find a way to unfortunately. Can you find a way to carefully? I think you can attack two weapons. You missed a key idea. Can you find a way to Can you find a way to
Oh walah. Gak melihat saya.
you have a chance to beat me? Can you find the checkmate? Checkmate is winning.
Tinggal turunan.
Find the game. The idea. Find the game.
Tuh. Oh iya, checkmate ya. Nama Sacho.
You have it. Find the game.
Oke. Kukas jalan langkah itu ya. Langkah terbaik.
To get the queens off the board, Jovanka.
Yes, he will be happy, but it's very interesting that Alireza chose not to walk into Wesley's prep, not trade off the queens and move before, and instead he's focusing on development. But this allows Wesley a time to step back with the queen, avoid the trade, keep the pieces on, and then just focus on development. But it seems like Wesley has got this position all worked out. No need to sidestep any queen trades.
Wesley doesn't mind an endgame. There are enough pawn imbalances in structure. I guess if the queens come off, the reason he hasn't taken yet Alireza is because he doesn't want white's rook to get semi-open file. I think the decision here is between stepping the queen back and maybe just bringing the bishop out. F4 looks like a nice healthy square, controlling a nice diagonal there. But Wesley has slowed down a little bit over the last few moves.
And now making sure that the queens do stay on the board. I think if you're Wesley, you're slightly hesitant to go short castle, as Alireza hasn't yet committed the position of his king, which would give him the ability to strike immediately with h5 on the board. So Wesley delaying that option for now. Alireza keeping things flexible, not showing his hand. Does he go right? Does he go left? Where do you swipe, David Howell?
Oh, I always swipe right. Which way is he going though? He is maybe waiting here, Wesley, to see where Alireza goes. You normally want to play a bit of a waiting game. We've learned that a lot over the last, well, I would say 2 years, especially with all the freestyle chess going on in the world. That delaying castling can give you a lot of information. You wait for your opponent. Wesley continues waiting. Decision time. Surely the king has to go now, and there we see Alireza castle to the king side.
And this might be the moment that Wesley chooses to do the same, or will he try to get aggressive with an opposite side castling Jovanka so that the h-pawn can start marching up the board? I mean, let's not forget, Wesley has to win on demand.
He does have to win on demand. He also has to evaluate risk. Is he going to go for the ultra risky castling queenside? Well, he just refrains from making a decision just now, just focusing on solidifying the center. I suspect that he's gonna just keep it tense, castle kingside, and goes for the long-term approach that we saw Magnus use to great effect in his Armageddon game in round 2, which was play the long game,
Turdio,
make sure
guys.
that the clock ticking down is going to be the crucial factor.
I love it. I love to see Wesley not committing with his king and keeping all options alive. The ability to go for an attack on the cards on the king side right now. He defended that central pawn with the move e3, and that freed up his knight to jump to the board and then starts putting pressure on the bishop. I am putting my money on a longside castle by Wesley So.
Yeah, the fact that he's keeping his options open is so annoying.
Hello, welcome to last one, bro.
Fully commit yet.
Oh,
On that
nice.
side, just in case
Move terbaik dari Magnus.
right, is kingside. C5 would be the only pawn break in the position. I don't think it quite
C5
much yet. White might just take
untuk
that
membuka ruang.
and say, okay, you've weakened yourself. Alvarez has to come up with a plan, but under 5 minutes now. This is the tricky side to Armageddon. You just have to trust yourself and kind of guess at some point, but he does break out with C5. Being a bit more direct, Alvarez, he wants to solve the tension.
Kalau nggak
He's trying to
dimakan,
discourage Wesley from getting his king to queenside. He doesn't want to see the makings of any attack towards his own king. I like this decision. It does force Wesley's hand. Do you pick up the bishop?
Bahaya
Do you pick
banget
up the
sih
pawn?
kalau
Or
nggak
do you
dimakan.
decide where to put your king? Whatever you do, Wesley, so decide quickly.
He needs to keep that clock advantage. Knight takes bishop makes a whole lot of sense, but still, he will have to take a decision where to go with the king. Will he
Ke
roll the
F5.
dice? Castle, queenside, takes the
Bahaya
bishop.
sih.
Will be recaptured.
With the
Captured
pawn.
towards the center. I like
Harus
it with the
makan.
pawn. It also consolidates the center. D5
Lokasi.
is hanging. It is tender right now. It's either the queen or the pawn. Alvarez is slowing down on this decision. Ooh,
Has some hesitation. Does eventually take with the pawn. And now it's here. Do you take that pawn on c5? Or do you go rook to d1 and keep things flexible? But okay, rook d1. No castle queenside.
Not anymore. I just lost all my money.
Capek dong.
Yet, but he does castle kingside instead. A bit of a fumble there from Wesley, shaking the head, smile. Almost
Effort
made eye
banget.
contact with us here at home, but castles instead. And yeah, this is very interesting because, like, I think Alvarez should be resolving the tension in the center, but here Wesley's saying he's taking back with the pawn. Then lines will open up. There we go. And the semi-open e-file now. There's a backward pawn to stare at. This is very technical, very positional now suddenly, and Wesley still with a smile on his face.
But I love this maneuver that Alvarez is doing. How many of these nice retreating moves to get to greener pastures we've seen across games here in Norway chess. Super instructive. D4 pawns weak. Alireza Firouzja is coming for it. Wesley lines up the rook. Alireza brings the knight forward. A direct threat. The pawn attack. Are you going to use your bishop to fall back and defend it? Or maybe the queen has a better square. It's the queen coming to d2. Also eyeing ideas like bishop h6 to get rid of a key defender that Alireza has.
And the question is, how is Black going to continue the pressure against that pawn? So he drops the knight back, and suddenly now there's a problem for Wesley to solve. How to defend that pawn? If he steps back with the bishop, well then he's going on the passive and he's no longer pressuring the e6 point, but he does that.
This looks more like a French defense now than a Queen's Gambit. But White has the bishop pair. That's the compensation for accepting this weak isolated pawn. Wesley has everything covered. Alvarez has done great. Pieced on nice squares, but he needs a new plan. And how to achieve that, he drops his queen all the way back.
I think what he wants to do is get his knight to that c4 square. You talked about a new plan. Maybe that's exactly what Alireza is setting up right now. b3 would provoke more weaknesses and weaken squares on the queen side. And Wesley so going all out on the other flank. It's everything for.
Yeah, that looks like a control move, stopping Black from breaking out in the center. But watch out, later on, not yet, but later on, White might also be tempted to break and just to open up the light squares. He is the encountered bishop. For now, Tanya, correct prediction there. Tried to provoke weaknesses. Alireza has been stopped, but White's slightly vulnerable on the dark squares now.
It's such a double-edged game, this one, as Alireza plants his queen on f6, lining it up with the bishop, eyeballing the d4 and the f4 pawn, and also ideas of doubling up with his rook on the c line, trying to get in there. For now, he reroutes the bishop, bishop b4, watch out for the skewer.
Yeah, and so that's why the rook sidesteps. Also, it's Ali Reza who needs to watch out because there are definite ideas now of white advancing the f pawn, just exploding open, getting ready to activate the bishop on g2. I'm worried about Ali Reza's position.
It's not easy to find improving moves long term for black, but for white you could say, okay, king slide into the corner, king h1. Maybe we'll see what Alireza did, knight g1 to f3, start improving that piece. We can see white double up some rooks. Black feels he's just waiting. There we go, king in the corner. Very nice blitz move. All the specialists, Wesley, Magnus, they all do these types of moves. Just a bit safer. It's for later.
Very, very dance Armageddon. The knight does move forward. Another big threat there set up by Ali Reza. The rook coming onto the second rank with a double attack. Stuck with the knight moving forward to c3. But again, the question of how are you improving this? Are you looking at doubling up your rooks on the c line? But you have to watch out for some knight jumps. But I think it has to be on Ali Reza's radar, right? Rook c7 or rook c6 and get the other rook to the c8 square.
Do something, and he has to do it quick. That time disadvantage is still huge. It's 2 minutes 40 that he's down, and the clock is ticking. They're nowhere near move 40 yet. No 1 second increment. Alareza's up against the clock, up against Wesley, just slowly improving. This is a horrible situation. Wesley's masterfully handled the clock in this game.
Yeah, he's managed to handle Ali Reza's activity. The knight just jumps backwards again. Of course, there is no way Wesley is going to allow a rook onto the golden c2 square. So up comes the rook to d2. But it's still very difficult for Ali Reza to make any inroads to get that activity he so desperately wants.
And that was a repetition right there with the knight going back and forth, which Wesley had to decline, and now Ali Reza going in with the plan. And now this gives him a clear path, right? Rook c8, rook c2 to come in. With under 2 minutes on the clock, Ali Reza finding the moves.
That's a great move there. Double up. It's always about plans in these maneuvering positions. If you have a clear, distinct plan, then it's easy to make quick moves. But Wesley suddenly on the reactive side, brings his knight back where it came from. Watch out, maybe a fork threatened in some positions. Does black continue with his rooks, or does he take a time out to stop that? Knight to b5 looks like a big threat.
I like it. Just stop that threat forever with that move a6. Come rook c8, but I have a feeling after a6, Wesley will do the same. Kick that black knight out of the way. a3 coming in as well. This is an extremely tense position for both players. Wesley saw extra minutes on the clock. He does line up, so he's going all out.
Wow.
And that's a mistake in the position. Can white jump in?
He does.
Jumps in. The rook comes in. The calculation in whose favor is this working out?
And then the question is, like, what is Wesley to do? He doesn't need to capture that rook. He can move away with the queen. And all Ali Reza, all Wesley has to do is, as Dave is indicating, sidestep the attack with the queen.
Hardest move on the board. Yavanka, that's literally the hardest move on the board.
It just feels difficult to walk into the eye line of the black bishop, but the black bishop is it. So no good discoveries. Queen to a3 is the only move that gives Wesley a big advantage now. Otherwise it's back with an acceptable bounce, and there we go. We see a rook exchange. Wesley missing a small opportunity, but maybe the more natural of the options there for white.
1000%. I mean, finding queen a3.
But wait 1 second. Look at this.
Wait.
It's turned around.
We see a mistake from Alireza. He should have been hitting the bishop first. Right idea, wrong order. Now when the white bishop steps away, retreats, the black rook is in danger of getting trapped. I think it is trapped. The knight's going to come back and snack on that rook.
And you might be forced to give that rook up for the light squared bishop and hope and dream and pray for some compensation. If you're Alireza Firouzja, first you need to defend that knight, or you take it immediately because bishop f3 coming in as well.
Oof, bishop f3 is just a clean win of an exchange there. Alireza, big mistake. Small margins, he found the right idea. Just wrong order. He needed the bishop on d6 to be able to come and take some pawns.
Under a minute now, Alireza Firouzja and about to go down an exchange on the board. Wesley, so is he about to put a stop to the Alireza run at Norway chess?
It's certainly looking that way. Decision time for Ali Reza. Does he play rook takes bishop? Does he step back with the knight and try to sell his rook expensively? He's got 30 seconds on the clock. He has to take a decision now.
He has to take that bishop. He just has to admit that his rook's getting trapped. He drops back with his knight, but now the rook's falling for even less. He gets less in return once the bishop steps forward. traps that rook. There's only one safe square after that, but it will continue getting hit. Brilliant move there from Wesley. Great clock handling. Alireza has no time. He's got to make 4 moves in 15 seconds.
And he's not going to have a rook left on the board. Even if he meets time control, he gets that extra second completely lost on the board. Gets an exclam right there.
He's got 3 moves to make. He's got 2 moves to make now in 4 seconds. He hits the white knight.
Magnus jalan benteng
3
ke
seconds for 1 more move. Dead lost position, but at least he's still got pieces on the board. If he gets out of the next few moves, still with some time, he's got a chance. But the clock, Alireza, 2 seconds. What? Oh, 2 seconds when he's made that move.
Yeah. But he's not going to get too much time bonus. It's just a 1 second increment per move. What a game.
Wesley now has done the hard work. He just needs to compose himself, calm himself, start reasserting authority over the position. Alireza, you can see the desperation there. The queen takes the pawn. The knight does defend everything, but the material advantage is huge. Full rook for knight advantage.
And the queen does come back. Alireza's queen also looking for inroads on that h4 square. Where is he going to try to trick Wesley? So, you get an extra second, but what even is that second? Barely any time to get a move in. Defends that e6 pawn with his own king. Now threatening to take the pawn on d4 and queen h4. 2 threats by Alireza.
And from now on, Alireza has to play on instincts. There's nothing he can do. He moves in with the queen. 2 seconds left on the clock.
Knight coming into e4 next.
He is so good with no time on his clock, Alireza, but he has to keep surviving. Curling up into a ball here with his knight, stopping white from breaking with the all-important f5 push. He's got it under control, but for how long?
This is a Herculean effort. h5. Asking the questions.
This is not over, guys. I have a feeling there are some twists and turns ahead here. Alireza is not going to make this easy for Wesley, and it looks like he's got his confidence back with the speed with which he's playing now.
Wesley hasn't found the most direct path. He's playing 1 second chess now, pretty much Alireza for the rest of this game. But Wesley hasn't found a breakthrough yet.
And notice how the knights also control infiltration squares of the white queen on the left flank, not letting any check arrive on the black king.
D6 knight. Knight and d6 this whole round in so many positions has been the key here as well. Bishop drops back. Alireza trades
akan A5 langkah terbaik.
brings his knight forward. White's king suddenly a bit open on the h-file. This could definitely turn. If Wesley drops low on time, momentum shifts. And mistake from Alireza. He grabs a pawn, but how to punish him? Wesley, he needs to find the punishment now. Otherwise, Alireza's back in it. He hits the black queen.
And the pawn on e6 falls. Once the knight is taken, that's it. The queen takes pawn. Game over.
Check. He's living on his last legs now. Wesley So can swoop in with his bishop, take a pawn, checkmate in the air. White's king will be safe on the light squares. Wesley finally caught out Alireza. He put up so much resistance, but resistance over. Surely now. Where's the checkmate?
He's threatening some checks of his own. Alireza is Wesley looking for a direct finish right here, right now.
The clock is ticking down for Wesley as he nears the 30-second mark. Moving the king, getting ready to introduce the rook.
Alireza literally doesn't care about a check on g8. Says my king will run and hide. Alireza trying to survive this, but the queens are off the board now.
And there we go. The clock finally playing a role. Alireza falling to his first defeat of any format in this whole tournament.
Kalah Alireza tuh.
Looked in control from the start. A bit nervy, but got the job done.
And Wesley So is the man to stop Alireza Firouzja. Few would have predicted that. I mean, Alireza looking absolutely unstoppable here in Norway chess. But Wesley, so incredible today.
Yes, Wesley definitely on an Armageddon streak there as he wins again. What a game! And Alireza always keeping the game alive with no time on the clock. You feel like if he had 10 seconds, he perhaps would have saved it.
I mean, the clock was on the wrong side from his favoured hand. He had his leg up in a boot. Everything was against him. He had 1 second on the clock. He had a dead lost position, but he fought and fought and fought and nearly got back in it. Like, in the end, he did collapse, but I think the most impressive part is that he got that far. Alireza is in top form. I'm so impressed by both of those two players today.
Really pushed each other to the edge in that last Armageddon. I mean, whatever we were devoid of the action in the classical, the Armageddon made up for it, and how?
Absolutely. And Alireza goes into tomorrow's rest day with a smile. He still just nurtures his healthy lead. Always nice to be first place, but going to our bird's eye view, I can see that there's progress has been made. First up, there's breakout in the game between Gukesh and Carlson. Let's head there. It's also looking very nice for Divya Dishmukh as she plays white against Anna Mudachuk in the bottom right. But first, let's go to Gukesh.
Here we see Magnus leaning back. Time advantage is on the Norwegian Grandmaster's side right now. He leaves the table. Probably not a confessional, probably just getting that last bathroom break before the time scramble that's going to be continuous for the rest of this game. Gukesh has 14 minutes to make 17 moves.
It's less than a minute per move, but the big question, can Gukesh simply grab the pawn that lies undefended on the edge of the board on a5 right now? Because that looks like the critical move that both players need to have looked at. Magnus, with the last move, allowed it. Gukesh on the thing. And knowing how direct he is, how concrete he is, that's got to be the line on his mind.
Wow, it's so brave to take that pawn, but he is brave enough to play that type of move. If he can get away with it, maybe we investigate, because Magnus now is threatening to take on d4, double attack against the white queen. It feels like white pretty much has two moves. Either you take on c5 and release the tension, or you take this one. Scared to see the bar drop, maybe. I mean, I see some flashy queen sacrifices, first of all. You can play queen takes pawn, check. And, okay, the bar goes up, damn. King takes. I just wanted to show that this is a nice discover check on both the king and the queen. And black emerges with a small material advantage, but probably because of the bad pawn structure, not quite enough. Okay, let's investigate. Same idea, different order. Can black sacrifice the rook?
Ooh, that looks really dangerous. And now...
Oh, and you take the pawn with the queen, and you infiltrate with your rook. Is that just actually game over?
Something takes e3. Rook in. White has to go all out defense.
Still have a defense.
Oh,
Not blow.
will you have...
what?
You have Knight jumping in. What is his decision?
He didn't go for a5, looking incredibly dangerous. I think this one, David, maybe you'll tell us what the knockout is. Bishop f5 coming in next, but instead Gukesh plays it cautiously. He sidesteps any ideas on the c file. He comes back with his queen to b2, defending, keeping d4 protected.
Yeah, I think it needed too much courage to go and take that a5 pawn, and it would have been a slightly suspicious move, slightly dubious there. The best, just for curiosity's sake, this is given a miss because Gukesh could and should have taken on c5 and now tried to hide in the center. It's far from a stable square though. The knight coming to f5 to hit that queen, the rook's coming in. I can understand why Gukesh wanted to dodge this, but his move apparently isn't the best, stepping back, so we can try and figure out why. I'm guessing Magnus starts by removing some pawn shelter from the white king. But what next?
And then you weaken that pawn on d4, right, once it recaptures. And Magnus's knight on d6. Knight on d6 has been the theme of Norway chess in round 4. Suddenly it's beautifully placed to actually jump and start targeting those central pawns. Pawn takes pawn, knight f5. How are you defending it?
Don't think.
Oh, and queen e3. Just adding that up.
I was going to say, my first instinct was rook e1. I'm trying to skewer the king and queen, but whoops.
That was mine as well. I just thought, whoops, oh dear. Checkmate.
Checkmate.
Has a name, Molester.
Oh, wow.
Although the king is on g1 normally,
Okay, but let's...
but when the queen does...
And the bishop.
No, hang on a second, I got my mating patterns confused. This doesn't have a name.
Chess players and mating.
No.
It's always been a
Yes, it's a mating game.
difficult topic. Okay, so I agree. Take on d4, knight f5. White will not walk into the mate. What can Gukesh do instead? He has to block that threat.
Knight
With your
e4.
knight, yes.
Has to be.
And then you just take on d4, and you're asking, where is your compensation? You're down a pawn after the knight takes.
It's not much of a pawn, so that I would argue that you go rook e1.
You're not
You-
scared about rook c2.
I am very scared, Tanya, and you can see, okay, there was no solace in rook e1 either.
So maybe rook c1.
c1,
Not
okay.
bad. Yeah, I could still see this turning. Eval Bar says almost +1 for black because he's a pawn up, but I agree that this is still an odd pawn structure. The black king isn't fully safe. Earlier we liked Magnus's king hiding out in g7. It still takes a few moves to run away.
Still a very tricky position. The bar might say what it
Check.
needs to, but this is, with this much time on the clock, a game for 3 results would draw the least likely of them.
This is going to be one of 3 decisive moments this round.
Why is it that today there is fights all across across the board. I mean, this one day,
I
when
know.
we said we're gonna get the most number of decisive games.
And there was one as well where it looked like they were going to have 4 decisive games, and in the end they were like all virtually drawn, and then there was only 1 decisive game, and David won again. I don't know. It's just like the universe is smiling on David.
Why not us? I feel like Magnus might not do the table smash. We might, Ivanka. We'll go down 3-0 to David.
Not yet. Not yet.
The tournament is young. We should do the 3 points for a 3 points 1.0
Right
as well.
on the scoring.
Well, if you I have a new proposal, Tanya. So if David wins again today in the prediction game, I reckon that we just suddenly like join up. Like it'll be David versus Nicholas.
I feel like we're giving
Makan yo.
him, you know, I feel like we need to play fair. But all right, let's do it. David, do you accept our challenge?
I think you can beat me individually.
I also
believe.
think so.
I
You know
believe
what,
in you both.
Ivanka, we got this.
You got this.
We got this.
Okay. Well,
Wah, nggak bisa
Okay,
Dave
and,
ini.
who's got this position? That is the big question.
it's going good. I'm doing good. And yeah, as you can see on the camera, we're being joined by a very special guest, Wesley. So
Wah, nggak
congratulations
bisa,
on
coy.
your Armageddon victory against Ali Reza Fruja. You just came out of nowhere, so he took me by surprise. So apologies for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah. I mean, Alireza is a great player, and I really wish him a speedy recovery. I mean, I really feel bad for him that he had to have an injury this way in Romania, especially since it happened at the last moment. It happened at the very end of his game against Anish. But he seems to be doing great. But I still hope he recovers.
Yeah. And what was it like playing Ali Raza? Because he's been a man on form in this tournament. What was your strategy in
Yeah.
the opening as well? You went really for him.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't sure what to expect, but he seems to be in really great form, right? He beat Magnus, and he beat. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think the time control suits him perfectly with the 10 seconds increment. Additional. I think it really plays to his strengths.
Yeah.
That's why he's scoring so many points. So yeah, but unfortunately, I had white.
It's always a good thing.
Wesley, you've been scoring a lot of points in the Armageddons as well. And I want to ask you, what did you switch up after the first Armageddon? Because since then, you've been on fire.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remembered that 3 years ago I made so many losses in the Armageddon. So I figured if I'm going to play a lot of Armageddon, I just changed my strategy. Just try to play faster, try to play the most logical move in each position, like not to think too much, and try to rely more on my intuition. But I mean, okay, but of course it still could have gone either way. I mean, just playing. But, yeah.
Sorry, go on, Wesley.
But of course, I mean, everyone prefers to win the classical, but Armageddon is consolation. Yeah.
And I want to just follow up on that, knowing the format of Norway chess and just what a big role Armageddons end up playing in these events. Is that part of sort of the preparation coming into the event?
Yeah, I must say so for sure. The Norway chess definitely has a very different time control from most classical tournaments. So yeah, you got. I mean, notice a lot of blunders after move 40. And players are like panicking, not writing the moves.
Very entertaining for us.
Even Magnus I think he made more blunders this tournament than in the
Oh,
last
Magnus
two years
jalan raja.
of classical tournament.
Sudah dimakan yo.
Because yeah, he had no business losing round 1, for example. But yeah, time control for sure. But I would say for Magnus, good thing it's a rest day tomorrow because he can stay up until 2 in the morning watching the Spurs Thunder. Yeah, probably. Are you going to watch?
I probably won't, but I'm an old man. I need my sleep, my beauty sleep. But I know Magnus will. I think you're right.
You could set an alarm clock at 2:30 in the morning.
Are you going to be watching?
Probably not. This tournament's too important. But Spurs Thunder is certainly one of the best basketball matches you've ever watched. Probably worth watching. Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Worth staying up.
Worth staying up for. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Did you catch up Magnus's confession on the NBA app?
Yesterday,
Yes,
he said it's shitty or something.
exactly. Those words. Not those words.
Yeah. I guess he meant like maybe the take up is better. Is that what he meant? That was what I was thinking.
Wrong studio, Wesley. Wrong studio.
Okay. Yeah.
On the topic of Magnus, maybe we can ask your opinion on his
Yeah.
game right now.
Yeah, he seems to be winning. Yeah, like I thought when he blundered knight b5 in the opening, I thought, oh, he's gonna lose again. Yeah, but he's turned it around. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely worse. We thought earlier maybe Gukesh taking a bit too many chances, couldn't get his king sorted, but now finally it looks like he might be safe enough with the white king. What are your
Who's
predictions?
safe?
Oh, well, I don't know who's safe.
Well, I see the bar. Yeah.
I do too.
I mean, that's what black is slightly better. Yeah, I guess maybe Gukesh can draw. Yeah, but yeah, such a nice turnaround by Magnus. I mean, to get this position from what he got in the opening, it's impressive. Yeah? Like, I thought he was just simply much worse earlier, but he found his rook g8, bishop h3, and then bring the knight to d6 was really great. And yeah, I looks like I think Magnus can win this. You know? He's got a healthy lead on time on the clock.
What are your thoughts on Magnus? You mentioned the turnarounds, like round 1 against Alireza, tough opening. Turned it around, and then just when it looked like he was back.
Apa sih anak semut
Yesterday collapsed against Bragg, just when it looked like he turned it around to win. Did you see
Oke,
that
Magnus
here?
udah jalan
Was it
lagi.
Or was it the type of position you can control a bit better?
Oh,
Yeah. That's a good question. You probably know him better, right? What do you predict?
It's hard to guess at this point. Like you said, the Norway chess just strange things happen.
Yeah. Once the players stop writing moves on the score sheet, then anything can happen. Yeah, but looks like it's impossible for black to lose. Yeah, but also yesterday I was very shocked. Like he could have repeated moves at least with king e7 and then thing, but he went for. I was watching his game yesterday in person. I was very surprised. He was very confident, like knight e4, c3, e2.
Yeah.
Which doesn't look good, but he was very confident. But
I think he was trying to be flashy maybe, and he didn't need to be. It was just unnecessary, like, I don't know, risk taking. Felt like.
yeah, I mean, no matter what Magnus does, he's still the greatest chess player who ever lived. So if he wants to retire or keep playing the next 10 years, I mean, no one can still question that all the achievements he made.
So, is Magnus GOAT according to you in the conversation of Magnus, Gary, Fischer, usually these three?
Yeah, probably because of longevity.
And I have one more question for you, Wesley, before we let you go. Unrelated, but today there was a false fire alarm in the hotel.
Yeah.
Everyone ran down. I didn't see you there.
Was that David?
I promise. So many people have accused me. They found out I'm not staying at the hotel, so they thought I'd just come along and boop. It wasn't me.
Yeah, I was still doing last minute preparation, trying to prepare a shower, and then
Maybe it was Alireza.
So did
Yeah.
you also wait and just see whether it was absolutely necessary?
yeah, I was actually on the 9th floor, and it happened in St. Louis also before, in St. Louis Hotel. I don't know if you were there.
Yeah.
You probably were there, yeah. And then I wasn't sure how serious it was, but I mean I didn't want to get killed, yeah, like 9/11. So,
Yeah.
but I thought it was a prank because it only lasted a few minutes, right? And then
And then it was okay.
I thought it was a prank.
I also have one final question for you, Wesley, I promise. So one of the features of Norway Chess is the confessional. Yes.
Yeah.
Will we see you there?
What do I think?
Anything you want.
Anything you want, you can.
Anything you want?
Anything you want. You can talk about the NBA. You can talk about the apps.
Oke,
you can talk
kita
about
jalan
the
itu ya.
lunch. You know
How much
your
you love
thoughts.
Norway.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you like
Your favorite
Oslo?
Mau
commentator?
menumpuk sik
Yeah.
ini.
You can give us a shout out. You
Yeah,
get the
for
fans.
Yeah, maybe I will. Yeah, I just need to think of what to say. But yeah, you three are definitely some of my favorite commentators.
Oh, thank you very much, Wesley.
Very sweet.
Flattery gets you everywhere.
Oh yeah, actually, I also want to say I'm looking forward to after this. We're playing in Hong Kong, so I'll be in the same team as Magnus. So that's quite exciting
Very exciting, yeah.
because I've never played with him in a team before. So. Yeah, I'm actually a bit worried now because tomorrow he gets the rest day. He gets to watch NBA, and then he plays me the next round. Hopefully, I mean, yeah. But we have the games tomorrow, so we need to keep Magnus' energy down.
But
Okay.
maybe that's actually good news because Magnus
That
will
good
spend
news?
all his time.
No, no,
fixing
no, no,
up
no,
the
no,
air
no,
and
no.
preparing.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully it stays up until 5 in the morning watching. Yeah, I'm actually not sure if the rest day helps him or hurts him, but
Yeah.
I'm not. Hopefully, yeah, we'll
Well,
see.
now we know your game plan, and I'm gonna say the best of luck in the tournament. We hope you come visit us again, and go
Yeah,
and enjoy the rest day.
I will. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, and
you.
well done again.
Thank you.
Winning against Ali Reza Fruzja. And Magnus Carlsen looks like he is in full control as he presses against Gu Cash there. Just turning around what was a dubious pawn structure and proving that piece activity is everything as he starts to turn the screws and go into Magnus mode.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Wesley said like black probably should never lose here. On the face of it, I probably agree, but we've seen stranger things happen. If the white knight suddenly magically gets to a better square, I could see it coming around maybe to e3. The black rook isn't the most stable blockader ever. The white knight getting to e3 or f4, either of these squares, suddenly this could turn. Maybe it's because the black king was safe on g7 that Wesley thought this is probably a stable position. Maybe because black's an outside queenside majority, but I don't know. I'm really surprised Magnus just didn't go for this extra pawn. He would have won the d4 pawn a few moves ago. Instead, it's much more tense now.
And this is something that we've been seeing from Magnus this tournament, right? Gets those positions where you feel he's just going to steamroll his way into victory, but then something goes wrong. It's happened pretty much in every round, even in the positions he's found himself in the front foot. Right now, Magnus taking his time goes on to show that he's feeling the exact same pressure. David, I would be just thinking about pushing those pawns on the left flank. Get b5 in, maybe line up your rook behind that pawn, start pushing it to b4, create a passer. You know, you mentioned it yourself. It's all about finding plans when you're low on the clock, so the moves come in quicker.
Magnus spending almost 4 minutes now on this move. He has a time advantage. It's 15 versus 9 on the clock. He plays f5. Interesting. I quite like that. Stopping the knight from coming to e4, but also my secondary plan was knight back to f1 into e3, and maybe that'll be stopped by the black pawn continuing to advance. Magnus still has half an eye on the white king.
It's like a one move many grooves because the queen can land up on f6, lining itself against that d4 weakness as well. So a multi-purpose move.
Yeah, multi-purpose move. Also, he's getting rid of his double pawns, those pesky pawns that have plagued him since he allowed the trade. Knight to f1. Will he play f4? F4, by the way, blue arrow move. Needs to take that decision, but I'm sure that's exactly what Magnus had planned.
That's
No
it.
hesitation.
On the board.
Yeah, he played f5 for a reason. It's because the most natural idea for white, I think, was this knight retreat. So Magnus continues consistent f5, f4, and taking this pawn almost unthinkable. The black queen can come in then, swoop into h4. The black rook as well has got eyes maybe on this side of the board. Suddenly, I'm really loving black's position again. I was unsure, but this plan looks really effective.
Fascinating this position is, and Gukesh now touching the 8-minute mark with still 12 moves to make, and it looks like a lot of problems and questions lie ahead for him, right? You have to take a decision. Going g4, you're inviting a big check on h4, and it's really kind of killing your own bishop on e2 right now. You don't want to take the pawn on f4. It just means your king is feeling extremely unsafe. You just simply keep the tension with 8 minutes on the clock, always having to calculate what happens after pawn takes pawn, rook h5 slide overs. This is going from bad to worse for the world champion.
Yes, it really is super exciting, and I have news for you. On the other boards, it's also equally exciting. I think we're looking at a fiery day.
We should have guessed that, Ivanka, when David took his call on the prediction.
But we
The number
literally
of Armageddon.
forced him there, Tanya. We made a rod for our own backs. He would have said 5 Armageddons.
But the thing is that we've tried every other strategy every other day. It just never seems to work.
No, it doesn't.
And it feels like nothing's working for Gukesh right now.
Nothing's working for Gukesh as he pauses for thought. I mean, it's a terrible decision to make. You know, pawn is there on f4. Do you let it stand?
He also needs to speed up. They still have 12 moves to make to get to move 40. He has just over 6 minutes now, so just over half a minute per move. And And this is going to get more complicated. It's one of those as well. It's bubbling. Magnus is trying to make the magic happen, but the concrete threats are still to come. So Gukesh is up against it. Needs to speed up. Hasn't been known for his speed, his accuracy there. Yavanka, you mentioned a fiery round. Which other boards?
So I was primarily thinking between Vincent Kaimer and Pragnanda Prag. If we believe the evaluation bar is taking over the initiative with the White King so shaky on G1.
Wow, we actually did just see a mistake. So maybe just a very quick check in there before we go back to the Gukesh against Carlsen game. Gukesh has made a move, improved his bishop.
Wah anjay,
we
aku
won't go to
Norway,
Norway, but White had a big advantage here. Bishop pair, strong pass pawn, the Black Knight in front of it, and